Welcome to the UK Festival podcast. I'm your host Tim, and today we're reviewing the 2024 Strawberry Fair. Running for 50 years, the Strawberry Fair has been at the heart of Cambridge's summer for as long as most people here can remember. Starting in 1974 as a more family-focused event, the earliest editions featured local schools performing around maypoles in the morning, with preening parents looking on and judging the quality of each other's performances. Voluntary organisations ran stalls, while local people sold cake and clothing, and indulged in crafting and coconut shies, among many other activities. Even then, however, the festival had a bit of a wild side. Later on in the day, the cool kids and bands would come out and play, and the hippie vibe so remembered of the 1970s would set in. My dad's sister Harriet tells me a story of her and her friends, aged 12, securing cider for the celebrations and setting off on a long and highly inappropriate adventure around the festival, ending up, as one would expect, in a haze of alcohol-induced sickness. Another of my dad's sisters, Annabelle, remarked that hash cookies and magic mushrooms were fairly freely sold, at least between the years of 1974 and 1978, and many pints of beer and cider were drunk to ward off the often less than fantastic music and surprisingly cold June nights. Nowadays, the festival has been forced to adapt to the challenges of underage drinking, and every year puts a massive fence around its home of Midsummer Common, runs security checkpoints at its entrances, and limits the amount of booze getting into the festival. This is a nuisance for people going in and out, and some hardcore free partiers say it ruins the vibe, though also it does allow the organisers to put a hard cap on numbers and stop it turning to complete sardine tin. Hang on a second, I dropped the lead. Strawberry Fair is fucking free. Not free if you volunteer, not free if you sneak in. Free. Free at the point of delivery to all who come to enter. This is absolutely bloody amazing. By being free, you open the world of festivals, of music, of art, of punk, up to a whole new demographic who would have never left their bubble and been exposed to it, who would have never paid the £100 to go to an independent festival. This makes the whole fair, in a way, the grassiest of grassy roots. Now, let's talk about the site. Despite what the name implies, Midsummer Common is not the Cambridge University Centre for Human Sacrifice. It's instead a patch of common land rented to the festival committee by the town council. Bordered on one side by the River Cam and on three sides by roads and city, it is grassy, flat, and despite rain earlier in the week, did not turn into a complete mire. While it didn't apply to us this year due to the overcast, dry weather, future attendees should note that there is limited shelter available on the site, and those particularly vulnerable to the sun might want to consider bringing something like a parasol. The festival opened with a parade of exuberantly dressed samba dancers marching from Jesus Green to the central Rebel Love stage. Standing tall, imposing in black, bearing the heart logo of the fair and a Palestinian flag in solidarity with Gaza. This location was one of nine venues at the festival, and despite its relative simplicity, still stands out among the festival stages for its design. Where I spent most of my time, the stage was opened by The Forfeit, a Cambridge band who threw out a barrage of energetic punk, channeling Fat Mike of NoFX. Fast, fun and fearless, The Forfeit were a good taste of what Rebel Love had lined up for us. Moving on from Rebel Love, I made my way down to the Flying Pig stage. Named in honour of a currently closed pub on Hills Road, it was blessed by a trio of country superstars. Lee with Morris. Belting out Americana classics with gusto, this trio attracted a joyous crowd and kept them happy as Larry with a series of crowd-pleasing covers. At 2 o'clock, I discovered something amazing. Wandering into the Portland stage, run by the team behind the Portland Arms on Chesterton Road, my attention was immediately grabbed by a striking blonde figure power posing on the stage. This figure was Lorenza Wildcard, the frontwoman of the eponymous band, and my favourite discovery of the day. Combining pounding drums reminiscent of ZZ Top with a smooth and sultry vocal line, Lorenza herself was an absolute riot of energy and charisma, dominating the stage and the crowd's attention with her incredible presence. Attracting fans young and old, her band's anthemic punk rock is absolutely unmissable live. If this band don't go places fast, I'll be surprised. After that firecracker show, I was a little bemused by the next band I saw. Zephyrus are a group of young lads who were playing on the Radio Cambridge 105 stage, and they seemed to have brought their own fan base along with them. The barrier was lined with a crowd of teenage girls, and the Z-Team's poppy antics weren't really for me. They're clearly a bunch of talented young musicians, and went down a storm with their, so to say, target audience. At the southern tip of the fair, the ShaDynasty, or ShaDynasty stage, was also blaring. One highlight it caught was Arthur and the Alley Cats, who performed a mashup of popular rock, pop and metal songs, with everything from System of a Down to Britney Spears making an appearance. While I really enjoyed the performance, I did feel their acoustic instruments were struggling to scale to the stage. A drum machine and some distortion on the guitar could really take them in an exciting new direction. At this point, my feet were sore from all my wanderings, so I settled down back at the Rebel Love stage to watch the Insurance Men. While not the ideal band to have a rest to, their jubilant surf rocky covers and laddish charm almost made up for the fact they got the festival name wrong. Strawberry Fields. Up next was Jaya Had a Dream. Already an award winner, Jaya stormed onto the stage with all the talent she could ever need. Speaking with the flowing, conscious, socially provocative lyrics laid onto a sometimes mellow, sometimes spooky beats, she put her heart out into the adoring crowd. Following Jaya's surprise barnstorming, I settled in to wait for space opera. Combining live guitars, psychedelic samples, and a smorgasbord of electronic dance influences, space opera are probably one of the most underrated live acts on the scene at the moment. The crowd, who were thirsty for some tunes they could really get moving to, drank it up. I didn't see a single sad face there, as space opera's perfect music reinforced friendships old and new in the ecstasy of that moment. But I couldn't allow myself to become too lost in that dance, for I had another date to catch. Brewer's Daughter at the Scarecrow's Corner. Located at the far northern corner of the Strawberry Fair, the Scarecrow's Corner is a peaceful retreat from the beautiful noise of all the other stages and the colourful chaos of the traders, featuring a few peaceful stalls, including the Campaign for Peace and one small stage where folk musicians played. It offered something completely different to the festival proper. I first encountered Rhiannon of Tarantism, aka Brewer's Daughter, last year at Equinox, where I was utterly spellbound by her melancholic folk set. While the bustle of Strawberry Fair did not match the stark beauty of the Lincolnshire Wolds as a setting for her music, she is still the same magical performer I saw last year. Next on my agenda, after regrouping with my friends, was RDF, or the Radical Dance Faction. Around since the 1980s and going through something of a second wind right now, RDF are quite possibly the crustiest to decently big act on the UK scene. Proclaiming that circus people are not surplus people, lead vocalist Chris delivers a unique spoken word line, accompanied by what the band describe as post-apocalypse dub. It's bloody brilliant, you should check it out given the chance. Catching most of the audience by surprise, almost as soon as RDF had finished, a woman came out onto the stage wearing a masked top hat. Now, I've seen the pixie punk poet before, I think at Maui in 2019, but let me tell you, she is bloody upped her game. Her wordplay has lost all its awkwardness, her revolutionary theory has gained a whole load of universality, and she's become the wordsmith she was always meant to be.
Stay or leave, the sight you won't believe. There'll be no need for a list in this apocalypse metropolis, this whopping great cyst that is this man-made haven. Yeah, sure, I don't mind, you guys go and stay and play in this decay, but I'll be going that way, because it's just a little bit too late for a revolution.
Now, onto the inner Terrestrials. So, for around, a quarter of a decade, they've been making a bloody big impact on the UK festival scene, and they're one of my favourite bands. They offer a fantastic blast of traveller-infused crusty punk with a ska beat and more energy than an 18-year-old on a gram of whiz. Jay's earthy vocals seem to be getting stronger each time I see him live, though my hopes that his singing will finally trigger the revolution have yet to be fulfilled. One thing worth noting about the ITs is that they have an absolutely amazing mosh pit. It's friendly and kind enough that I saw a 5'0" lady seemingly simply completely happy jumping right into the middle, and yet it's still absolutely wild, fast and fun, perfect pit. Perfect, absolutely perfect pit. One of the best in the industry. The headliner at Rebel Love was Zion Train, and honestly I think they're a pretty perfect choice. They offer ragga-infused dancey beats, and they carried on the party energy space opera had injected into the festival earlier. They carried the entire event ably through to its 11 PM curfew, which was a bit early, but you're in the middle of a city, what can you expect? And yeah, it was brilliant. Like, Zion Train were great, lots of energy, fantastic show. Particularly enjoyed Kara's stage presence. Kara's the singer. Organisationally, while not perfect, Strawberry Fair is, well, kind of okay, in parts. Okay, it has one big fuck up, which a lot of festival goers really, really care about. The queues for the toilets are atrocious, as much as 30 minutes at times, and the quality is, at best, mixed. The ones closest to the Rebel Love stage, in particular, are not worth using, though the ones at the entrance weren't quite so bad. Now, it's a free festival, so the budget can only stretch so far, and they've got limited resources, so do you want to be able to pay bands to get in, or do you want to be able to, like, put up tents, or do you want enough toilets? People have to choose, and a lot of people would vote for toilets, but I think it might be more due to placement. Like, you can't get enough in the Rebel Love area. Anyway, enough on toilets. The other infrastructure is actually kind of brilliant compared to most events, with a solid path across most of the park absorbing the worst of the foot traffic, and the flat ground being easygoing for almost all the attendees, even those with like access requirements. Food traders are everywhere, and while standard festival prices are kind of in operation, some are more reasonable. Alternatively, popping out of the festival to the city centre is often quite quick, especially if you take the gate to the north. No, gate to the north. So it's not so bad. Yeah, you can pop into like McDonald's or something there. Get something from Greg's perhaps. Now, one defining thing about Strawberry Fair is that it's almost as much of a market as it is a music festival. Dozens, if not hundreds of schools occupy the central space in between the stages, on top of offering explorers the chance to sample their wares, be they carefully crafted handcrafted goods or mass imported tat. They also break up the space of the common nicely, separating the stages from each other visually in a surprisingly effective way. I love the Strawberry Fair. There's the feel of a proper independent festival, somewhere like halfway between Equinox and Maui Wowie. And then I remembered it's bloody motherfucking free. A festival of its magnitude, even with its long toilet queues, has no business being put onto the public for free. How else can anyone compete? All joking aside, the fair offers people who would never get the chance to go to an independent festival the chance to glimpse one, for real, the proper magic of one underway. By letting people in at this level, it, as I've said, serves as the grassiest of grassy roots, and prepares audiences to actually pay for, or even get involved with, the greater festival scene. I wish there were more Strawberry Fairs. It would do the scene, the industry, and even the country a whole hell of a lot of good.